Hello everybody. Now that is what we call a cliffhanger. A cliffhanger is where you're held in suspense, not knowing what's going to happen next. I didn't mean to do that. The iPad didn't have enough storage for me, so it cut out. But I'm back now, and hopefully it won't do it again. So, where did we get to? Right. Maisie just yelled, 999! And we all looked at her, and she said that even if you had no signal, you could still dial the emergency services and you might get through. That's true, you know. Even if you haven't got signal, you should still be able to dial 999. So Jodie grabbed the phone from Zach and started to dial 999. And that's when the battery died. And Jodie screamed, "No!" There they are. Oh, what are they going to do? I tell you what, I wonder if you could let me know what you would do at this point. Would you send a flare? Would you write a message in the path? Would you try and find your way back to camp? Would you try and tame a pigeon or a creature in the wood and help it ask it to help you deliver a message? Might take a while, quite a few months, I imagine. Would you write a huge SOS or help on the floor and hope that somebody goes over in a plane or a helicopter and sees your message? Oh, so many things. What would you do? The full moon. After the phone disaster, Maisie started writing a letter to her mum, telling her how much she loved her and how much she wanted to donate her belongings to Werewolves in Need. That's when Zach said we should use the sherbet dips to send up a smoke signal. So we emptied the sherbet out of our hands and started throwing... we emptied the sherbet onto our hands and started throwing it into the air. But it didn't reach very high. And then Jodie said, "Stop! Because we are wasting valuable food resources. And who knew how long we were going to be lost in the wilderness?" Even though it was only 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Jodie said that we should all get some rest so we had energy to find our way out of the woods the next morning, and that she would take the first watch while we slept. So me, Zach and Maisie all lay down on the ground and put more of Jodie's clothes from her bag over us like a blanket, while Jodie kept an eye out for predators, which we all knew meant werewolves. I wasn't sleepy at all, but I must have fallen asleep at one point because when I woke up I heard whimpering and a little bit of howling. Maisie was fast asleep and so was Zach, so I sat up slowly and quietly and peeked outside, and that's when I saw Jodie sitting in the woods on a rock. The noise stopped and Jodie started to turn her head, so I lay back down as fast as I could and shut my eyes and stay completely still. My mind was racing because I knew the whimpering and the howling sounds had been coming from Jodie and that they were the same sounds I'd heard that night in my tent. And that's when I remembered Amy's text about the scratch and a werewolf and how you can get given werewolfism. I reached over and gently took the ruler out of Maisie's hand because I knew Maisie didn't need to worry about measuring her arm hairs, but Jodie did. This can't be happening. I had no idea in the world what I was supposed to do next. I mean, my best friend was turning into a werewolf. I lay there trying not to panic, and I was thinking over and over about how Miss Moon had scratched Jodie's hand by accident, and that when we were putting up our tent, and how Jodie had been acting a bit weird lately, like when she went to bed early, even though she had loads of marshmallows left, and when she disappeared off the shower block with all her clothes. And that's when I knew she was going through a werewolf transformation. And that's why she wanted to sleep on her own in Zach's tent last night, in case she woke up all hairy. I was just about to wake the others and tell them that we had to find a spoon when I heard the sound of branches snapping outside. I sat up just a tiny bit so I could peek out of the shelter, and that's when I saw her. It was Miss Moon. We're all werewolf meat. Before I could even scream, Miss Moon told us to come with her right away and that you could wipe that mud off your faces. So we grabbed our bags and followed Miss Moon into the woods because even though she was a werewolf, she was still a teacher, and when she was in her human form, we didn't really have any choice. Miss Moon moved really quickly through the woods, so we had to run a bit to keep up with her. I looked over at Jodie and she looked mega weird. I wanted to tell her it was okay and that she would always be my best friend, even if we couldn't cure her, but I didn't want to say anything in front of Miss Moon. So I just linked my arm through Jodie's and held her really close as we followed Miss Moon back to camp. And when Jodie wasn't looking, I took the ruler out of my pocket and tried to measure her arm hairs. But then Jodie caught me with the ruler and she was pulling her arm away and said, "What are you doing?" So I said, "Nothing," but it came out all high and squeaky because it's really hard to make your voice sound normal when you've just found out your best friend is a werewolf. And that's when I spotted something. Jodie wasn't wearing her locket. The locket she always wears that has a picture of her mum in it. Her silver locket. As soon as we got back to camp, Miss Moon took Jodie away somewhere and that was my chance. I pulled Zack and Maisie into the big tent and told them about Jodie being a werewolf. Maisie and Zack were shocked and Zack even had to lie down a bit because he said his head was spinning. Zack said that explained why Jodie hadn't wanted to do the werewolf investigation in the first place and why she kept saying I had imagined the howling, because she didn't want us to know that the howling had come from her. Maisie said that Jodie must have been trying to run away that morning and when we caught up with her and her backpack, that's why she'd had all her clothes with her. Then I told Zack and Maisie about the silver locket and how Jodie wasn't wearing it. And even though she always wears it, this one time she wasn't. And she said that she would probably die if she ever lost it because she loved it so much because it used to be her great-grand's. Maisie started crying and saying, "Poor Jodie," over and over again, and saying that Jodie must be worried that we wouldn't want to be her friends anymore and that she must be scared, too scared to even tell us. And that made me cry a bit because I didn't want Jodie to think that we didn't want to be friends anymore because we would always be her friends no matter what. Nothing would change. But then Zack said that we needed to pull ourselves together and make a plan because that's what Jodie would have wanted us to do if she was here. But Zack got tears in his eyes when he said it and he nearly made me start crying again too. But I managed to stay strong because we needed to help our werewolf friend. So we made a plan and this is what we came up with. Number 1. Find Jodie and make sure she knows we are still her best friends even though she's a werewolf now. Number 2. Tap her on the head with a spoon. Number 3. If that doesn't work, make sure she stays in the tent during the full moon so she doesn't eat us. Number 4. Make a hole in the tent and stick a survival straw through and try to whisper Jodie's name into her werewolfy ears 3 times. Number 5. Let her out after